Hello, I'm Valerie Biden Owens, chair of the Biden Institute at the University of Delaware. Today, I have the privilege of introducing Mayor Dorcey Applyrs. She was sworn in as the 76th mayor of Albany, New York on January 1st, 2026. She is the first Black mayor and the second female mayor in the city's history. Thank you, Mayor, for joining us today on this episode of All Politics is Personal, a program where we introduce the public to the person behind the politician. Anyone can research your policies and your accomplishments, but that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about you. So, how'd you get here?
Well, this has been a very interesting journey and one that has allowed me to self-reflect on who I am personally. And that story goes back to Washington, D.C. I was born in the 80s in Washington. And what was very challenging about that time, and while it was a great time, in the 80s, we were struggling with the crack epidemic, heroin epidemic, and my family and my household was also impacted by those epidemics. So I was raised by a single mom of four. My mother was a DC cop, and my mother worked very, very hard. I always saw her either working in the community, or there would be times I would sneak downstairs late at night. She would be studying and working on something. So my mother raised us along with a host of grandparents. My grandmothers, one was a waitress for 50 years, and the other was a beautician for 50 years. And my grandfather was a janitor at the National Institutes of Health. He cleaned toilets and he cleaned floors. My family poured a lot into us, my siblings and I. And when I talk about the epidemics, my father, we lost him when I was 5. He contracted the virus, HIV virus, due to drug use. And so that really had an
Wow.
impact on me at a very young age. So it inspired me to get into public health, and I'm sure I'll have the opportunity to talk about that later. But when I think about my journey, a lot of my desire, my passion was shaped at that very young age, and losing my father so early really impacted me.
You 4 siblings. There are 4 of you.
Yes.
Where are you in the order? Are they brothers or sisters?
So there are 2 girls, 2 older sisters, and in fact, one is adopted. So I am the middle child. And one day, my mother comes home. It was 3 of us at the time, and she says, "Kids, meet your sister." This young lady, my mother met while a beat cop. She used to walk the beats in Northwest Washington, and she would constantly get a call to respond to a group home. And at the group home, my now sister Lila, would be there getting in trouble. And so my mother developed a really close relationship with my sister, and one day brought her home and said, "This is your sister," and the rest is history. And I have
How
a
old
baby
was she?
brother.
How old were you at that time when you got your brand new sister?
I was probably in elementary school when
God
we
bless
were
you.
introduced to my sister Lila.
What a great story. I mean, it's all about there's family and there's family
Yes.
and then there's family,
Yes.
and that's all that matters. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Friendly High School in Fort Washington, Maryland. Because of the dynamics of the neighborhood, my mother, and she was a cop, so she saw everything. She really wanted us to have a better life, live in a different environment. And so despite the fact that my grandmother purchased 3 homes on a waitress salary, 2 of them right next to each other in Northeast Washington, my mother packed us up and moved us out to the suburbs. And so I ended up going to Friendly High School.
What was your favorite subject?
What's interesting is that I did not have a favorite subject. In high school, I was a piece of work, as they say, and so I did not really care for school in high school. And so I spent a lot of time, and I hope my girls never see this, my two daughters, walking the halls, talking, and doing things that I had no business doing.
So you were not exactly the teacher's pet.
No, no, I was not.
Did you play sports?
I ran track for a short period of time. And despite being in the halls a lot, I did have great relationships with my professors because what I think it was, they saw something in me that I did not see in myself at the time. And so they would spend a lot of time encouraging me, trying to, Dorcey, you can do better. And when I reflect back on that time, it was because of the constant, Dorcey, you can do better. Um, I expect better from you. They were people who really instilled in me this notion that despite doing bad things, there's something good in everyone, and you don't give up on people. And so those teachers at that time, they refused to give up on me.
When did it start to click in that you started to believe them and believe in yourself?
Honestly, it did not click in until I arrived on the campus of Delaware State University.
Wow.
That's when it clicked for me. I barely made it across the finish line in high school, not because I wasn't smart. I just did not try. And when they say your environment can really influence you and your decisions and your behavior, I would say that I was a product of my environment at the time. The only difference, most of my friends were female friends, had children. And so
By that age?
in ninth grade, my best friend had a baby. And so the difference was I did not have a baby, and it allowed me to be able to pivot from high school and go to college.
And your mom?
And my mom.
Oh. What was your first job?
My first job, I worked, actually I had two jobs, actually three. The famous DC summer jobs, thanks to Mayor Barry.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm one of the kids who was a product of having a summer job as early as 15. And I worked my DC summer job while working at Little Caesars Pizza and McDonald's. So I had three jobs.
Well, you didn't have time to get in trouble.
Oh, I made time to
Oh,
get in trouble.
Okay. So your first political experience is working as an intern or a summer job?
It was a summer job, and at that time, it was probably going to get the mail, but I had a job.
Well, what's flipped the switch from your being as an intern or a summer job in the mayor's office to take the leap to run for elective office, which is a major leap? And how long did it take for you to get point A to point B?
It took a while. So I would credit Delaware, the state of Delaware, in helping with that switch. So leaving DC, I attended Delaware State University, as mentioned, and Delaware really helped to calm me. It slowed life down quite a bit, and it allowed me to be able to focus and think about what I wanted to be, um, from a career perspective, but the type of person I wanted to be. And so I really, really appreciate that stop in Delaware, those 4 years I spent there, because it became a safe place. I left Delaware State, and after getting really laser focused, I started to see that there was a path for me. I didn't know fully where that path would lead, but I worked and studied really hard at Delaware State, decided to pursue public health because of my father's passing, and how he passed. I developed a passion for HIV/AIDS work. And so I pursued my master's at the University at Albany. And it was really eye-opening for me, seeing how you can use your education to improve other people's lives. That was really fascinating and yet very rewarding for me. I felt as if I had found my niche, that thing that I love. And so I started doing HIV/AIDS work, and then decided I wanted to go back for my doctorate, focusing on policy in the public health space. And that's when someone approached me about a fellowship through Albany, the Center for Women in Government and Civil Society. And that fellowship is what changed my life, changed my trajectory, and it exposed me to elected office.
In your family, growing up, and particularly your mom is a principal, the principal, was there anything was there a particular saying or mantra that your mom would say to you? Like in our house, my mom, your word is your bond, or I don't care what all the other girls are doing, Valerie, you're not going to do that. Is there a refrain that kept you going, your teachers saying you can do better? What about in your house? Was there a constant thing that you find yourself saying to your daughters?
Well, definitely, I don't care what your friends are doing and what their parents allow you to do. My mother was very strict. And I think it was because she saw a lot as a child and she saw a lot as a police officer. And so, very strict. And in addition to, I don't care what your friends are doing. I had people like my grandmother who would say, girl, you better stand up straight so other people can't ride your back. And at the time, I thought I knew what that meant. But now as I reflect, she was preparing me for the experiences that I would have being a Black woman growing up in this country. And so it was a lot of those comments that I didn't quite get at the time. My mother's mother would often say things about stop wasting because there are other people who just don't have. There are people starving. And as I now have to prepare a table for my own children, I understand what she meant by be thankful, be acknowledge your blessings, that you have a warm roof over your head, you have food on the table. So they were teaching us to be grateful for everything that we have, but also teaching us what it meant to take the shirt off of your back and give it to someone else.
How big a role does faith play in your life?
A huge role. It is the cornerstone for me. It is what has served as my compass, my North Star in my journey. And so I am a strong woman of faith, and I don't apologize for that.
And what are your feelings right now for you growing up in the 80s and looking at your life? Do you see a much better prospect, or are we stalled, or what you're out there working through government to make everybody's lives better? Are you hopeful?
I am a very hopeful and optimistic person by nature. There are very few times in my life that I felt hopeless, and those times have been because of, for example, I lost my mom.
How long ago?
I lost my mom in 2019. I would say that is the only time in my life that I have felt the lights went dim. Outside of that, I tend to be a very optimistic person. I see the glass half full. And so despite the challenges that we have as a nation, despite the challenges we continue to see in some of our communities that continue to be underserved, I always see the assets, the beauty, and opportunities to do better.
And what you do is you take those opportunities and you work hard and you make it better.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I want to ask you some frivolous questions now, if I may.
Yes.
Rapid fire. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
A college president.
One word to describe yourself.
Caring.
Favorite movie?
The Color Purple.
Oh. Favorite music?
R&B.
Favorite food?
I'm a dessert person. I love ice cream. I
Oh, yeah.
love ice cream. That's my favorite food
I
group.
think we're sisters in spirit here. I'm feeling something really good. Do you have a hidden talent?
I can cook.
Oh, my dream house does not have a kitchen, so we're not good there. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
This could be a blessing and a curse, but to see the future. To see into the future.
Oh, you're brave. Your sign, your birthday. I don't want to know the year. What's your birth date, the day?
July 22nd. I'm a Cancer.
And do you put any stock in any of that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have very much strong Cancer traits.
I'm a Scorpio.
Ah.
But we get no Cancer and Scorpio. We're very much aligned.
Well, my husband and my oldest daughter are both Scorpios.
Tell me about your daughters before we finish.
I have two girls, Noble, like Barnes and Noble, and Nile, like the river, 7 and 4.
Oh, babies too.
They are babies, and they are feisty, and I love it. They are determined little girls. They know what they want, but I love them deeply. They are my true why. And when the world beats me up, I go home and they jump on me, and everything feels so much better.
Sure does. What's your theme song?
I'm a survivor.
You sure are. And I am so glad you survived.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And keep working for us, okay? We all need you. And thank you to our partners at the Stavros Niarchos Foundation. And remember, all politics is personal.